Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to How to QC Your Edits Directly in your NLE. It's great to see so many attendees from across the industry with us today, from the film and broadcast world, from so many amazing post houses and creative agencies, even enterprise businesses, not to mention our customers, friends, and integration partners who are joining us today. My name is Martin Coles. I'll be your host today. I'm also the CMO here at LWKS, Lightworks and QScans, and I really want to thank you all for joining us. We know how busy you all are, so I promise we'll get straight to the demo as quickly as we can, but I'll briefly set the scene and introduce you to our presenters first. We're lucky today to have Peter Lambert with us. Peter is not only our CEO, but as the slide says, he's a true video pioneer, having helped launch Avid into the world and has led teams across the content supply chain ever since. Peter will talk us through why the QC process is so important now more than ever, and why it should be seamlessly integrated into the editing workflow. Perhaps even more importantly than that, we also have Daniel Roques. Daniel is our product manager here at LWKS and owns the QScan and cloud product roadmap. And in the last year alone, Daniel's been responsible for dozens of major improvements in QScan, including all of these here and a whole bunch more. And fortunately for you guys, he'll be running the demo today. After the demo, we'll do something very few software vendors do. We'll actually show you our prices. And if you're still with us then, we also have an exclusive discount code so you can try out the workflow for yourself, completely free. We'll stay open for any questions after that, so make sure you make notes and please use the Q&A widget at the bottom of the Zoom window. We'll answer as many as we can. I think, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's more than enough from me. Peter, it's over to you to explain why QC is so important and why in-edit QC makes so much sense.
Thanks, Martin. I kind of feel this is one of those times to tell a story. It's one that kind of, the classic once upon a time, there was a manager who would handwrite notes or a letter and hand it to a typist. And once upon a time, there were nonlinear editing systems, and they'd submit the output render to a QC process, and then they'd get back a piece of paper or a PDF that had a timecode value on it, and that would tell you where perhaps your video levels were wrong or some other error was in there that meant that it couldn't be output. Because that's once upon a time is all because today from LWKS, we've got an integrated in-edit QC system that will really help out with the big problem of mistakes are always expensive. So, you could be getting fines from a broadcaster who just invoices people if they submit files that have errors in them, don't pass their QC process. There's wasted time, let alone the cost of your professional reputation. It's during the construction process of the piece where it's the ideal place to determine the necessary corrective measures. There aren't many car production lines that have no QC process until the very end, where it would be madness to find out that there was a fault in the engine and it had to be taken out because there was a component in there that was faulty. That would just be ridiculous, right? But that's how we've traditionally run our AQC process or QC processes for video. And there's a competitive advantage by adopting this sooner rather than later. According to our surveys, up to 30% of content creators have no QC process whatsoever, and more than 70% have no automated QC, so it's a manual process. So offering a better service will be a better service that has a competitive advantage. And the in-edit QC process has got very good advantages to deal with problems as they come in, such as data corruptions or getting media that's the incorrect resolution, or there's a packaging problem. The essence or the file extension is wrong for the way that you wish to use it. It needs the pixels to be in the correct aspect ratio so that you don't suddenly find out that that car that you've got in the edit has wheels that are not round. You need to know that the frame rate is correct and the frames are progressively scanned or interlaced according to how you're going to use them. For perceptual quality, you'd probably like to know if there are flash or freeze frames or audio dropout. And then you need to know that the video levels don't trigger a fail. Once the content is correct, the final QC will be checking the packaging, the delivery format, making sure that's correct for the various publication platforms. This is the compliance stage, which may vary for each platform by file codec, maybe specific checks like flash photography. And having done all the QC on the content earlier, hopefully this compliance stage is just a formality. But I think we should just get on and see it now. So Daniel, if you're ready, shall we actually have a look?
Yep. Okay, so I will now share my screen. Okay, so thank you, Peter. Okay, and good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to those of you joining from overseas. Some of you already know me, but for those of you who don't, I'm Daniel Roques, product manager in LWKS. Today, I will be showing you how to QC directly from your Lightworks NLE. For this short demo, I will be using Lightworks and QScan. Both products are being developed at LWKS, and they have both been integrated together just to enable the QC directly from your NLE. But what benefits does QCing directly from your Lightworks NLE bring? Okay, first, it will allow you to have a clear view of the technical health from perceptual quality of your input assets that will be later used in your editorial process. So you can then classify or just remove those parts of your input assets that do not meet the minimum quality requirements and take the corrective actions. Second, it will bring the ability to do your edit, export, and then get the results in the same timeline that you're using for your editing. So it will just allow you to go directly to time codes where your edit is not compliant with the expected delivery specifications or where it fails in terms of quality, and then you will be able to fix from your NLE directly. And well, and third, it is just making QC become an integral part of the creative process, easing the identification and correction of all the defective and non-compliant sections in your media. So first, I will be showing you how to QC an input clip, a source clip that you have added to your bins, and then I will show you how to QC your file automatically after export using Lightworks. And finally, I will just show you one of the latest additions to QScan, which is the automated creation of templates from known correct files that will ease the creation of new templates. Okay, so as mentioned before, and as Peter mentioned, QC is an important part of the creative process, not only at the end of the chain, at the end of the workflow, but unlike many people think, QC should also be performed in other stages. Like one of these stages would be the import of your source clips into your NLE. If you don't detect those problems that you have in your source media, they will probably be transferred to your final edit, then making it more difficult to be corrected afterwards. There are some typical problems here would be media offline, black frames, freeze frames, the audio is missing in some parts of your source media. And these will, in the end, if you just take them to your edit, it will probably require additional editorial changes that might impact on the time and effort that is required for your final edit. So let's first see how we can QC a source clip, a source input, an input clip into your NLE. So I will just open this project. That was the main screen in Lightworks. I prepare a project for this demo. So here I have a bin with several different files. So I just need to right click on top of a file. Then I will be able to select QC, scan, And then here, a new window will open. It is just allowing me to select the template. As you can see, we have a complete list of templates here. These templates need to live in QScan. They need to be created in QScan. Okay, but now I will select this template that I prepared for the demo. Then you have to select the location, this analysis speed, or the priority. Then when you're ready, just click start. Now a new task will be created in Lightworks. So this is a task view in Lightworks. If I just, now I'm splitting the screen now. On the top part, I can see Lightworks. At the bottom, I can see QScan. You can see now a new job in QScan has been created. It was discovered by QScan, and now we can see the progress of the analysis taking place in QScan. We can see that some events were already detected in QScan, and we can see that the progress is being provided to Lightworks, so we can also keep track of the progress from Lightworks. I need to say that this does not need QScan to be open. I'm just showing you QScan now, so it is clear to you how it is working. But QScan can run in the background. You don't even need to have it open. Okay, so now the QC is finished. So I will just, again, I will just make it big. I will just close this window for now. And what we can see here now is a new panel we call the QC panel. The QC panel is just giving us a list of all the events that were detected in QScan. We have a time code, start time code, the end time code for that event, the track, or the description. Okay, if I just click on any of these events, I will just jump directly in the timeline to the place where the event is happening. Okay, so I can also jump from one event to the next just by using this jump button here in Lightworks. Okay, and if I just play back the file, we can see that the different events are being highlighted as they are detected in the timeline. Okay, so this is the first, I would say the first tool that we have for checking your QC results in Lightworks. But the other one is that we can also see this in the timeline. Okay, this is my source clip, so this is not an edit. What I'm getting here is my video track with the 2 audio tracks that I have in my file. And here in the timeline, I can see the Q markers just showing me where the events are happening. I can just, if I hover over, I will see a description, the time code, the start time code, etc. So I could perfectly just remove or just, yeah, in this case, we have black frames, we have freeze frames, as you could probably see here in the description. So I could just jump to this and then just remove those places or just do any other editorial change to the timeline so we can fix this before we take it to our final edit. Okay, so and this is the input clips, but I'm sure that you are also wondering, okay, can I do this with my final export? And the answer is yes. So I will just go to another project here in Lightworks. I will enter this is an export. This is a very basic edit. I'm sorry, I'm not an editor. This is a very, very simple edit. I'm sure that you have very, very complex edits, but the operation will be exactly the same. As I mentioned, you have been spending probably long hours editing your media, and you want to make sure that what you are delivering will meet the technical requirements and the quality standards. And if you're delivering to third parties, you probably have a delivery specification that you need to meet. And that delivery specification will definitely have a section about automatic QC. So here, now I'm in my edit, very simple edit. So if I just click, right click again on top of a video, I select export. Now I will just select, okay, in this case, I will just export to XDCAM HD. So I select the format, I select the configuration parameters. I can give it a name. So I will just call it export B2. I select the location of my export, and then again I have here a quality control configuration. This quality control configuration again will let me choose different templates. In this case, I just select the one, it's NHK template that could perfectly be a broadcaster could perfectly match a delivery specification for a broadcaster, and then I can just start my QC. As you can see now, the first task that is taking place is the export. So when the export is finished, we will be able to see that a new QC task starts here. So again, now I will split screens again. and now the export is being detected in QScan. It will be running the QC. It will be just providing, Lightworks will be retrieving the status information, the progress information from QScan. This is all done using QScan API. For those of you that have already integrated, I'm sure that you already guessed it. So now when the generation of the PDF is finished, I will again get the task log showing me that the QC job has finished. I will leave the task log here in the corner for now, because what I want to show you now is what it looks like in my final edit. In my edits. So here now we have this is my edit, and I can see in the timeline here or the Q markers telling me where the events are happening. Again, hovering over, it will give me information about what has been detected. I can jump from one to the next. Okay, and I will obviously also have here my QC panel that will give me some more information, more description about what is going on. In this case, we can see that this, what we're detecting here is actually photosensitive epilepsy events, also known as Harding test or flashing test. It depends where you are, they call it differently. But the beauty about this is that now we can go to the timeline directly, just go to the different events. Okay, and probably in this case, when we have Luma flashing, we might want just to lower the luminance levels of those flashes, or we might just want to space them in the timeline, so it is not breaking the photosensitive epilepsy rules. Okay, so if I play back the file, we can see that it is showing me all these flashes happening that are triggering the photosensitive epilepsy events. Okay, so but obviously from here, we not only have access to the timeline view and allow us to fix things directly in our timeline from the edit, but we also have a direct access to the HTML report in QScan. So that is the page in QScan that is showing all the events and all the reporting information, but also the PDF report that will need to be delivered with the file when you're working with third parties. So if I click here, it will just open the PDF report. And as you can see here, okay, we have the PDF report with all the information that we need with thumbnails, waveforms, time codes. And at the bottom here, we have the PSE, the photosensitive epilepsy report with all the detailed information about the problems that were found in this file. Okay, but how do we, okay, I showed you how to use the templates that were created in QScan, but how can we create new templates in QScan? Well, for those of you that have been using QScan for a while, you know how to create templates, but what you need to know now is the new feature that we have, which is that automated creation of templates. So if I go to the editor to create a new template, I will just call it webinar D4. Then I have a new option here from file. If I click there, what I can see now is that I can select a file in my local drives, in my repositories configuring QScan. So I will just go to this media webinar, and I will just select this file, which is an MXF file. I will just select it. If I select this file, I can now see that the thresholds, all the analysis information is being populated automatically. I have to say that this is populating only the format checks, okay, because those are the only things that will remain constant, let's say, in a delivery specification. You could have like different black frames in different places, freeze frames in different places, so we cannot really take a reference, a file as reference for this kind of parameters, but we can do for the format checks. Okay, if we look deeper into the configuration, we can see the container format here. The file was an MXF. So we're using login just to say, okay, yeah, this is correct. This is just informative. Container format is an MXF. But if it is not an MXF, then we will just trigger a critical event. Obviously, this template can now be modified. If you're not happy with any of this, we can see that all the main parameters like video codec, exactly the same. So creating or configuring all the format checks when you're creating a template is actually around 70% of the template creation. So that is taking 70% of your time when you're creating a template. Just see how many format checks we have in this template. If you don't have the automatic way of doing it, you would need to do it manually, and this is really time consuming. Now that we have all the format checks, we can then just add other thresholds, other parameters that we want to, like I don't know, perhaps I want to check for black frames, or I want to check for audio missing. So I will just add audio is missing, and I will make it critical. Okay, so basically this is allowing me to create a template in no time. Once you're happy with your template, you just click on create new template. And now if we go back to Lightworks, just a second, okay. And now we go back to Lightworks, and I go again to the export option as I did before, XDCAM HD. And then here, now if I scroll down, we can see that we have webinar V3. That's the template that I just created in QScan. Okay, so you can now use this new template in Lightworks and get exactly the same results. Okay, so that's basically about it. As you can see, doing your QC as part of the creative process now simpler than ever by combining Lightworks and QScan. It will save you time, save you unwanted additional steps in the editing process, and will guarantee the meeting delivery specifications. And all this really at affordable prices never seen before, as Martin will tell you in a bit. So I hope you liked it. And now over to you, Martin.
Thanks for that, Daniel. Let me just make sure. Can you see my screen? I haven't got the normal green box around it. Great. Okay. Daniel, that was a great demo. And I think it really shows the power and potential of in-edit QC. And I also think it's deceptively simple. I managed to keep up, so it must be. And that brings us to our next point quite nicely. So we know what the point of media AQC is now and why it's so important. But what's the point of this webinar? Well, it's such an obviously beneficial addition to a post-production workflow. It's so simple. There are so many benefits to the actual creative workflow. You save so much time, and the business can save so much money. There are real business benefits there as well. And it doesn't cost anywhere near as much as you might imagine. Here at LWKS, we really want to make media AQC accessible to everybody. QScan is completely fully featured. It's used by some of the biggest names in content creation, and is totally flexible and scalable. You can see our prices right there. There are our standard monthly prices, but like I said, it's massively flexible. We can work with yearly contracts or outright contracts as well. I think if you need any more detail about the features or the prices, just head on over to the website. It's very well documented and detailed there. We're nearly done here. Got a bunch of questions waiting to get through. Thanks for sending them in. There's still time to send in more if you have more. But I mentioned an exclusive webinar attendee discount code. Get ready to screenshot it. Okay, here it is. Like I said, we really want you guys to try this workflow out for yourself. This voucher code here, if you use it in the LWKS shop, it will give you access to Lightworks Pro or QScan Max 100% free for a month. If you are a QScan customer, all you need to do is use it for Lightworks Pro. If you're a Lightworks customer, all you need to do is use that code to get QScan Max. If you're new to us entirely, just use it twice for QScan Max and Lightworks Pro. You'll get them both for free for the next month. All you need to do is then follow a few instructions that you'll get, and maybe rewatch this video again, so you can see what Daniel did to actually QC his edits and clips, although it's pretty straightforward. You should be able to work that out now. Full details will be sent in a follow-up email, and really that's it from me. No more pitching, but Daniel and Peter, if you guys are ready, we can open up for questions.
Yeah, please do.
Please do. Cool. First off, I'm going to leave this this slide here so you can make a note of it, or really just to make sure you don't forget about it. Okay. First one, quite simple. Is QScan cloud-based or on-prem? Daniel, I think that's one for you, although we can all answer that surely.
Yeah, well, QScan is just it's a web application, so you can really just have it on-prem, or you can make it, or you can have it in the cloud, even in hybrid environments with more complex configuration. So you can have your files in the cloud and just control from on-premise. So there's many different options. Again, this is just a web application, so it can be accessible from anywhere, anytime.
Cool. And how fast are the QCs? That's a bit of an open-ended question, isn't it? How long's a piece of string?
Yeah, well, that really depends a lot in many things. It depends on where you're running the QC. I mean, the machine where you're running it. What parameters are you trying to QC? It will also depend on the resolution of your media. So, well, generally speaking, we're talking about XDCAM HD. For example, 1 hour would be analyzed in less than 45 minutes probably. But again, with the right machine and the right parameters enabled.
Cool. Okay.
And we will be doing things. We will be releasing things fairly soon to speed that up.
Oh yeah, thanks, Peter. Yes, we're working now on even further improving the performance of the QC now with some new techniques that we're now developing as we speak.
Cool. Okay. What operating system does it work on?
Well, QScan runs only in Windows. Lightworks can run in Windows, Linux, or Mac, but that's not a showstopper because actually, when you, I will just share my screen for a second because I will just show something that I need not show before.
Sure.
Basically, here when you just a second, okay. Here in Lightworks we have the system settings here. System settings, I have the option to configure quality control. In this quality control now, QScan and Lightworks are running in the same machine here, which is basically my laptop. But if QScan was running in a different machine, you would just need to enter the IP address of the QScan machine here, the username, the default username, password, and then just click on connect, and it will connect to the other machine. So no matter whether Lightworks is running in Linux or Mac, you will be able to connect with QScan in another machine, or even in the cloud. Okay, so that would be another option. With the right configuration, the right network configuration, you can even have QScan in the cloud, Lightworks running locally, and just run QScan in the cloud from Lightworks. Do the QC from QScan from Lightworks directly. Sorry.
Cool. Okay. How many instances of the editor can run with one instance of QScan? I don't know if I've really articulated that very well.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I get it. Basically, I mean, you can. It will really depend on the license that you have for QScan. Obviously, if you only have one file at a time in QScan, you will only be able to run one file at a time.
But you can have any number of NLEs feeding it, but it will it'll queue up the license, queue up the files one at a time after another, or you can run them in parallel according to the license that you get.
Exactly, but then you can have many Lightworks instances running at the same time, calling QScan, and if you can run many files at the same time simultaneously, then QScan will be able to QC them and provide the feedback to the right Lightworks instance.
Cool. A question which follows on from that is just coming from an anonymous attendee, a mystery attendee. This is fun, isn't it? Are there any user restrictions, or can multi-users work simultaneously with QScan?
QScan is, I mean, it has unlimited users. Really, the only restriction in QScan is how many files you can simultaneously analyze. But you can create as many users as you need for QScan. All of them could be working at the same time, creating new projects or launching new QCs, but the only bottleneck there will be that if you can only analyze one file at a time, files will be queued and will be analyzed one after the other.
Cool. Okay. One for you, Peter. What customers does QScan have? It says what customers do you have? So maybe it's QScan and Lightworks.
That would be a pretty big list. There are millions of people who have downloaded and used Lightworks. The customers for QScan are many and various, but there are some really good reference sites. We showed NHK for a template for NHK, but there are lots of post-production companies, lots of production companies. There are some very small users who just make sure that what they upload to YouTube is working well, and that's what QScan 1 is designed for. But the big names, we've got CNN in South America, we've got HBO, we've got NHK, we've got Apple, Comcast. There's a long list of pretty, top names, and they help us with the templates for their compliance. Netflix, of course, is a customer. There's lots of them. There's good sets of examples all over the world.
Lovely. Okay. We've got this. We've had a question come in multiple times. Does this work with other NLEs?
You want to answer that, Peter, or should I answer it?
Sure. Well, yes, it is possible using other third-party applications, like our friends at MoveIt in Germany have integrated QScan into the workflow with Adobe Premiere Pro. It is obviously a lot more complex and expensive because you've got to have the systems integration stuff go on, and it will never be as powerful as it is in Lightworks. So inevitably, we will be asked to integrate with other NLEs, and we're fine with that. But it's unlikely to be as powerful and as well integrated with Lightworks on any other platform. And I did notice there was another question, which was, is there any chance in the future that the QC program will be just a feature of Lightworks instead of a separate program? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. Don't expect it next week. It's not a simple thing to integrate. And don't expect all of the features of QScan to be in there, because for the full analysis of everything that QScan does today, that would be far in excess of what's appropriate for an in-NLE application. But today, you've still got the competitive advantage of taking out a monthly subscription for QScan. When it's in Lightworks, hey, you don't need the monthly subscription for QScan. You just take out the appropriate version of Lightworks that has those features integrated, and you're away. But as I say, please don't come back in a couple of weeks and say, when's that coming out? Because at the moment, that's just a roadmap item.
We've had quite a few questions about the roadmap, so I'll cross them off the list because you've just answered them. What other platforms does it integrate with? I know that QScan integrates with a bunch of MAMs.
Yeah, there's lots of MAM systems that work with QScan directly, and they can produce the kind of reports that the MAM systems like Dalet or TMD, there's just so many MAM systems that we work with, including our ex-colleagues at EditShare. There's workflow orchestration systems that will trigger QC jobs and work with the results and move files based upon the notifications that QScan delivers. It's a big list, and on our website we have a summary of them.
Cool. Okay. I'm going to read this one out, kind of a little bit more word for word. This is for you, Daniel. Is it possible to detect motion artifacts?
Yeah, I can also read it here. Well, to be honest,
easier.
to be honest, I mean, it will be just a matter of testing it. I mean, now you have a free evaluation code to test QScan. We cannot say that we detect absolutely everything because that, I mean, no one can actually say that. And there are some things that are quite difficult to detect. But I think the best thing is to work with us to see whether we can detect those motion artifacts and see what we can do about it. We have okay, this was not really a demo about QScan, but we have some interesting features like macros. So combining different parameters, these different detections, you can create complex detections that are not standard detections. So I don't know, perhaps combining different macros combining different parameters, we could detect something like this. But again, I mean, we usually need a sample file and check, check whether we can detect it or not. I cannot say yes or no right now.
I've actually got quite a lot of experience in film restoration workflows. I've worked with some pretty big companies doing that. And that is one of the most complex subjects ever. I'm not sure if there's ever a good answer. We had one where we were restoring a scene with a police car, and as the police car drove past, a dot was going past with the police car, and it turned out that it was in the aerial, that little piece that comes out of the top of the aerial was kept there, whilst the restoration software thought that the aerial, the extended aerial was a scratch. So it removed the scratch perfectly, is what it thought, but it left this little hovering dot that moved past with the police car that always caught your eye. It's damn difficult stuff, and I have huge respect for people who restore film successfully, and it's our legacy. So please keep it up. But please try QScan out for that. I'm not sure if it would deal with something that thinks that a tennis ball is a dust particle. That's quite a hard one.
We can try. Will QScan trigger checks from a watch folder?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, QScan can do that, and now integrating that in the NLE would be quite straightforward. I mean, that option exists. That will only need to have the proper let's say configuration options in Lightworks for that. For now, it's only specific, independent files, but in the future, yes, we could say, okay, just QScan this whole watch folder from Lightworks and then get everything QC'd even before it is imported or when it is imported into Lightworks.
Cool. Okay, and I've got just one more here. Can you export QC issues? No, I've got more than one more now. They're still coming in. Can you export QC issues as markers that can be imported into other NLEs?
To be honest, I'm
well, that's what the guys at Helmut were doing.
Yeah.
They were taking the JSON output, automated generation of those, and putting those through their APIs into Adobe Premiere Pro. So the answer is yes, but it's pretty complicated. I don't know, just try it on Lightworks is probably a better way than trying to try it on that. Unless a big facility, hundreds of Premiere Pros, have a chat with the guys at something like Move It, who've got experience of doing this. The Euro finals were done using markers exported from QScan that went into the timeline of Premiere Pro. But it's the Move It guys who have got the secret kind of systems integration stuff to deal with that. So speak to them. It's MoveIt, MOOVIT.de.
And additional to this, Peter, let me just point out that QScan can also generate JSON reports directly. And actually, with the right integration, you can just retrieve those JSON reports automatically from QScan. But if you don't want to do any integration, you can just use QScan and export your JSON reports that you can probably, perhaps you can ingest directly in other NLEs. To be honest, I don't know whether other NLEs will accept JSON, this kind of JSON reports into their timelines, but it's worth trying probably.
Cool. Okay, that's all the questions that we've got for now.
One's popped up, which is, can QScan, is it true that QScan only works on a Mac?
No, does not work on a Mac.
Yeah, it does not work on a Mac, sorry.
I can answer that.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, it will not work natively on a Mac. I mean, QScan will not work natively on a Mac. It can work in a VM in a Mac, so that there should be no problem. And for this integration between Lightworks and QScan, you can have Lightworks running in a Mac and then QScan running a Windows machine, or even in a VM in your same Mac. Okay, so it's just a matter of the right configuration there, but it will not work natively on Mac.
But the way that you interact with QScan is through a browser, so that should not matter to people.
Cool. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for your questions. And I've just popped that voucher code back up on the screen there, just in case I didn't give anybody enough time beforehand. Hopefully I should have done. But I think that brings us to a close. Unless Peter or Daniel, there's anything else you want to talk about or mention.
No, that's great. We've formed LWKS with QScan and Lightworks, and they're now integrated. That's something that we've been wanting to put together and show for a while. And we have lots of plans, and we'll be back on a regular basis to update you. I hope you like them.
Okay. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.